Welcome back to Where Is Your Voice podcast. And today, I need you to really listen to me on this one because some of you think you're stuck. Some of you think God forgot about you. And some of you are this close to going back to things God already delivered you from. And the reality is, you're not lost. You're in the wilderness. And if you don't understand what this season is, you will fight it, you will misread it, and you might even walk yourself right back into something God already brought you out of. So today, we're going to get into what this season actually is, how to know if you're in it, what God is doing in you while you're there, and what you need to do so you don't fight it or run back to what He already pulled you out of. When we talk about the wilderness, I'm not talking about a beautiful desert sunset. I'm talking about the place where God takes you to starve out the parts of you that can't go where He's taking you. It's the season of the great separation. In the wilderness, God isn't just giving you a break from life. He's putting you in a position where your old coping mechanisms don't work anymore. If you used to lean on your bank account, the wilderness makes it tight. If you used to lean on your friends, the wilderness makes it quiet. If you used to lean on your own hustle, the wilderness makes you wait. It's the season where God is proving to you that He is the only thing that is actually sustaining you. Now, I know some of you are listening to this and thinking, that sounds similar to what I'm feeling, but how do I know for sure? How do I know if this is just a hard week or if God has actually pulled me into the wilderness season? Because, see, if you think you're in just a bad week, you'll try to fix it. But if it's a wilderness season, you have to surrender to it. You can't fix what God is breaking on purpose. So, I want to walk you through some very specific markers. These are the things that show up when the Spirit has led you into the dry places. And as I go through these, I want you to be honest with yourself. Don't look at your neighbor. Don't look at your spouse. Look at your own heart. Here are the signs that you are officially in the wilderness season. Sign number 1, the depth of the overflow. The first sign that you are in a wilderness season is that the overflow has stopped. Now listen to me. I'm not saying God has stopped providing. I'm saying He has shifted the way He provides. See, before I entered my wilderness, I was in a cup runneth over season. I had a job where I was blessed beyond measures. I was singing about how God was pouring it out. But because I had all that extra, I started developing some real extravagant habits. I was eating out at all these fancy restaurants. I was jumping on planes, going out of town any second I could. I was buying clothes I didn't need. I was chasing all this stuff that only brought me temporary joy. And then the wilderness hit. Suddenly, the extra was gone. I found myself in a season where I had just enough, maybe a little bit over, but nothing like before. I was living on God's daily manna. And in that moment, I realized exactly what was happening. God was bringing me back to simplicity. He had to cut the more so I could find the main thing again. This is exactly what God did with the Israelites in Exodus chapter 16, verse 4. The word says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. Notice what God said. He didn't say, go out and grab enough for the month. He said, gather enough for that day. If you're in a place right now where you used to have abundance, but now you're literally looking at your bank account or your energy and saying, God, I have just enough for today. Don't panic. That's not lack of favor. That's a test of your trust. God is stripping the extra to see if you can still follow him when all you have is him. Sign number 2, the birth of divine order. The second sign you're in a wilderness season is that order begins to happen in your life. Now, this might surprise you because the wilderness feels like a place where you're just wandering, but listen to me. God is not a God of chaos. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 33 tells us that plainly, for God is not a God of disorder, but of peace. When you're in a season of overflow, it's easy to be messy. It's easy to stay up late, sleep in, pray whenever you feel like, and just go with the flow. But when God pulls you into the wilderness, he starts tightening the reins. You're going to notice that suddenly you're waking up at the same time every morning. You're finding yourself at your altar or in your prayer closet at the same time every day. Worship isn't just something you do when a good song comes on, it becomes a habit. In this season, God is bringing order to your life. He's taking those scattered parts of your day and aligning them with Him. You'll see those bad habits that used to trip you up start to fall away, and new holy habits start to take their place. If you find yourself craving structure and discipline in a way you never did before, that's a sign. God is preparing you to carry a heavier weight of glory, and you can't carry that without order. Sign number 3, the pull of the past. The third sign you're in a wilderness season is that you're going to want to go back to your old life. I'm telling you right now, this is the hardest part. You're going to find yourself sitting in the quiet of the wilderness, and you're going to start questioning everything. You're going to ask, did I even hear God in the first place? Was this all in my head? Maybe I just made this whole calling thing up. And listen to me closely. Whatever your struggles were before God delivered you, they are going to be tested the most in this season. If you used to struggle with drinking, those thoughts are going to come back. If you used to struggle with certain relationships or toxic habits, the enemy is going to make those look real comfortable right about now. This is exactly what happened to the Israelites in Numbers chapter 14, verse 3 through 4. Why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword? Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt? And they said to each other, we should choose a leader and go back to Egypt. They were so uncomfortable in the transition that they were willing to go back to being slaves just so they could have a predictable life. If you find yourself looking back at your old life and thinking, at least I knew what to expect back then, you have to realize that's a trap. The wilderness is filled with uncertainty, yes, but your God is going to keep filling you with more strength. Deep down inside, you know it's better to stay the course than go back to the version that God already killed. Sign number 4, the preview of the promise. The fourth sign you're in a wilderness season is that God is going to give you a taste of what the next season looks like. Now, don't get it twisted. This isn't the full manifestation yet. It's a preview. Think about the Israelites in Numbers chapter 13, verse 20 through 27. When they went to spy out the land, they didn't just come back with a story. They came back with grapes. The Bible says the cluster was so huge that two men had to carry it on a pole. They got a physical taste of the land flowing with milk and honey while they were still standing in the dirt of the wilderness. And in your life, it's going to look like a sudden breakthrough. Maybe a door opens just a crack. Maybe a big check comes in. Maybe you get a yes that you've been waiting for. You start thinking, okay, the wilderness is over, we're out. But then it feels like a setback. The door closes again. The money goes to a bill you didn't see coming. The yes turns into a wait, and you start feeling discouraged. But listen to me, that wasn't a cruel joke from God. That was a confirmation God was showing you. The land is real. The promise is real. The grapes are growing. I just need you to stay in the wilderness a little longer so I can finish what I'm doing in you before I give you the land. If you had a peek at your future only to feel like you were back in the desert, don't lose heart. That taste was meant to fuel your faith, not frustrate your spirit. Now, I'm not just going to leave you standing in the desert. If you recognize these signs, you have to move from reacting to the wilderness to partnering with it. Here are your 3 non negotiables. Number 1, stop looking for the exit and start looking for the altar. The biggest mistake we make in this wilderness is that we spend all our energy trying to find a way out. We're looking for the door. We're looking for the shortcut. We're looking for the yes. But listen to me. God didn't bring you here to find an exit. He brought you here to find an altar. Start asking, what are you trying to say, God? This is the season to build a prayer life that isn't based on your grocery list of needs, but on a hunger for His presence. If you spend this whole season just waiting to leave, you're going to miss the very thing He's trying to give you right now. Number 2, audit the Egypt in your inner circle. Since God is bringing order, you have to help Him clear the deck. Look at your habits and your circle. If there are voices or vices pulling you back toward the comfortable version of your past, you have to cut the cord. Don't wait for God to strike a toxic habit out of your life. You take the initiative, start the routine, set the boundary, and stop entertaining the things He already delivered you from. Number 3, document the daily manna. Your memory is a liar. When you're hungry, it will tell you that Egypt was better than it actually was. To fight the lies, you need a record of the truth. Every time God provides just enough for today, a small win, a check in the mail, a moment of peace, write it down. Your manna journal is the evidence you use to silence the enemy when he tells you you're going to die in the desert. You need to be able to point to your notes and say, no, my God fed me yesterday. He fed me today and He's going to feed me tomorrow. I need to say this to somebody who feels like they're at their breaking point. It is okay to be honest with God about how hard this is. You don't have to put on a church face when you're in the desert. Look at David in the Psalms. He was the king of the wilderness season. In Psalms 13, he literally cries out, "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever?" David was raw. He was frustrated. He was hurting. But notice he did it with reverence. He didn't turn away from God. He turned to God with his pain. If you're tired, tell Him. If you're confused, tell Him. He already knows what's in your heart, so stop trying to hide it. There is a healing that happens when you stop pretending you're okay and start being honest with the one who is sustaining you. And here's the most important thing you have to tell yourself every single morning. This is just just a season. The wilderness is a passage. It is not a property. You are passing through. You aren't moving in. I know the sand feels hot and the wind feels heavy, but you have to remind your soul that the same God who led you in is the same God who is going to lead you out. The Israelites lived in tents for a reason because tents are temporary. You might be in a tense season right now where everything feels unstable, but God is building you for a permanent promise. Don't let the length of this season make you think it's your destination. Your God is a finisher. He didn't bring you this far to drop you. He brought you this far to develop you. Stay the course. Keep your reverence. And remember, the cloud is going to move again. I know it's dry. I know it's quiet, but I'm telling you, you are exactly where you need to be. God is thorough and He is making sure that when you step into that promised land, you are the kind of leader who can actually handle the weight of the blessing. In the next episode, we're going to move from the dry places into the sharp places. We're going to talk about the season of pruning. We're going to talk about why God cuts off things that are actually good so that you can produce something great. Until next time, stay in your word, stay in order, and never lose your voice.